Chris Busing from Walk Street. That was a good job, City of Clarkston, 2 evenings ago. Very good job. It's events like that that pick up the city. And I realized that it took some folks a lot of work to get that put together. It looks simple on the surface, but that kind of coordination is a lot of work. I visited, and I found, gravitated quickly to 4 police officers who were standing close together, and I had these DVDs specifically that I like to pass out to police officers, and one was called A Noble Lie, and it was about the cover-up in 1995 of the Oklahoma City bombing, and I said it was about an officer, police officer, who was brutally murdered in the line of duty, and each one of them instantly wanted a copy. In fact, I forgot the one that was standing behind and said, "Where's my copy?" And then I asked them how they felt about Fast and Furious, and all 4 of them looked at me with this kind of electric look, like, this is too heavy to talk about right now. You can't be a police officer and not know what's going on in this country, because they get it first. They get all the news first. I'm talking about in terms of the close down, the gradual close down of this society. I do believe it was Adam White sent me an email the other day about some election fraud, possibility of election fraud in Fulton County the other day, where votes were counted at 300%. So the machines, the computerized machines went wrong. And now the Secretary of State, this has to do with the city, with my campaign to always try to get the paper ballot back to the city, like we had an election here in 2000 with paper ballot. And now the Secretary of State is getting ready to farm out all of our election counts, even from this city and this county, to a Spanish firm that is located in Florida. So they will deal with the results before we can even. The city spends approximately $3,000, if I'm not wrong, Tracy, on those stupid machines. And we have the ability, by law, to get the paper ballot back here. That should go on the agenda. That should be on the agenda here. I often wonder how things get put on the agenda here at this council. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilwoman and Ments. How are you tonight? It was a very exciting event on Tuesday. It was very good. Also, I would like to comment for the, I think it's the city manager and the planning managers that we have an excellent agenda, and it's clear that we move into the right direction, and I do thank you for that. On the agenda item F6, if I'm willing to comment on that, I'd like to say some things. Is that okay? Okay. On this comment that we are going to solicit for qualified consultant, and I strongly suggest that we do that because of the fact that the same company who revised the ordinance is doing the consultant's work now. It was ethically wrong in the past, and I hope you will bar them to participate in this. I hope you will bar them not to participate in this page. That's what I have a comment.
Thank you. Any more public comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward on the agenda to the item E1, first read for proposed alcohol ordinances. Our city attorney.
Chapter 3 regarding alcohol. Whereas the mayor and council desire to provide reasonable regulations upon the sale of alcohol as a...
Excuse me. Stephen, could you speak into the microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry. Whereas mayor and council desire to provide reasonable regulations upon the sale of alcohol as a retail package or for consumption on the premises in the city in order to promote and protect the safety, health, peace, security, good order, comfort, convenience, and general welfare of the city and its inhabitants. This is too long to read verbatim. Some of the sections I'll summarize. This is available at City Hall. There's the definition of restaurant, which includes a statement that a restaurant must fill 75% of the building's usable square footage with tables and chairs intended for dining, and it must always have food available, staffed at all times and open to the public, with employees prepared to cook and serve edible food. A restaurant must derive at least 60% of its total annual gross sales from the sale of prepared meals and food. There are provisions as far as the requirements on an application for an alcohol license, what information must be provided. A surveyor's certificate is required, which will certify distance from the location to certain special uses of property such as schools and churches. The license that's issued by the city must be posted on the premises. There are certain provisions regarding the sale and consumption of alcohol on an open area or a patio. Open containers are prohibited. Brown bag establishments are prohibited. Sales by the drink will only be permitted at bona fide restaurants, not a bar. And that goes to the definition of restaurant that we looked at earlier. There are provisions for the reporting of food sales in order for the city to calculate the 60% food sale minimum of total gross receipts. Providing for hours of operation for retailers. The retail package sale of alcoholic beverages shall only be permitted within the city between the hours of 9 a.m. and 12 midnight Monday through Saturday, between the hours of 12:30 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. on Sunday. The sale of alcoholic beverages for consumption on the premises permitted Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. until 1:55 a.m. the following day, and Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. until 2:50 a.m. the following day, on Sunday from 1 p.m. until 1:55 a.m. on Monday morning. There shall be no consumption on the premises after sale has been prohibited for half an hour, and the premises must be clear of patrons within 1 hour of the final sale time. The ordinance provides for licensing fees, provisions regarding proximity to private residences, libraries, churches, schools, public parks. There are provisions stating that a business selling distilled spirits must provide 10 parking spaces, set aside the area with the spirits exclusively for the retail sale of distilled spirits. Price list must be conspicuously displayed. No exterior sign may be used to advertise the price of any distilled spirit. Visibility of places selling alcohol. It must have clearly marked points of entry. Windows and doors must able to see through them. And there's a provision regarding machines operated for amusement purposes on retail premises. No retail dealer in packaged beer, malt beverages, or wine shall permit on his premises any slot machines or mechanical music boxes or pinball machines or any form of electronic or mechanical game machine or coin-operated device which might be used for entertainment or amusement purposes. And that's all.
Thank you. All right, we'll move forward with the old business on agenda item E2, resolution to adopt new alcohol beverage license fees. And that's the city attorney again. And the city manager.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor, and maybe this is a question directed for the city attorney. This ordinance has been discussed previously, and it was decided that we would hold a stakeholder meeting, and as a result of that meeting, we decided that we would start this process over with a first read. At the work session last Tuesday, there was some discussion regarding the staff's recommendations for some amendments to the proposed ordinance. When is the appropriate time for the council to discuss any amendments to this ordinance that they would like staff and the city attorney to draft for consideration at the second read? Would now be the appropriate time to have that discussion and to direct staff if there are any recommended amendments?
You mean with regard to the alcohol ordinance that we just read?
Yes, correct.
Well, I would say that ideally, the amendments would have been discussed prior to the read, but I think either now, while we're on that agenda item, or the next work session, or both, would all be appropriate for discussion. I mean, the first read, in my opinion, is not an action agenda item, and I don't see any reason why it doesn't make room for discussion of potential amendments.
And so if I'm on the same lines, and so if any members of the council, and I'm bringing this up because it's my sense that there's some interest on some or some members of the council to amend this ordinance, would it be your recommendation that those amendments only come forward at the second read prior to any particular action to adopt the ordinance?
Not necessarily. I think that would be the last time to bring it forward. I mean, before an ordinance gets on the agenda the first time, I presume there's some work session discussion. And I think that there's room for what I'll call non-action discussions at the first read. If the elected person wants the public to know their feelings about an agenda item. But I don't think it needs to take the form of proposing an amendment on the first read meeting, because we're not going to be taking any action anyway. So that you wouldn't need to have a second for your amendment. You would just need to get permission from the chair to discuss. And then it could either, and then if there's a clear consensus, you might want to put that amendment in before the next regular meeting.
That's what I'm getting at.
Right.
That's what I'm getting at. Because at the work session, there was some discussion, but there was not a clear consensus for staff to move forward with making any changes to the proposed amendment. So my question now is now an appropriate time to have that discussion so staff can be so informed, and if there's a consensus, we would then move forward to incorporate those amendments prior to the second reading.
My recommendation is that yes, this would be an appropriate time for that discussion, that staff will present what it fairly perceives to be the consensus on any agenda, and that if that consensus is not obvious or apparent to the staff, then they would re-present from first read to second read the same thing, but every elected council person always has the right and the obligation, if they feel appropriate, to make an amendment at the time that it comes for action, which in this case would be next month.
And so with that as a backdrop, there were 4, possibly 5, 4 that the staff has recommended. One additional one that the staff, well, let me clarify that. There were 4 issues that the staff provided a recommendation on. I clarify that because some of the recommendations was to not change the